Located beneath the very southern tip of South Korea, Jeju Island is known for its breathtaking landscapes and coastal scenes. But what is more fascinating about this island is its female identity, or the community of female divers who inhabit the island, also known as Haenyeo. Haenyeo dive in the ocean to gather abalone, sea urchin, octopus, and seaweed without any specialized diving equipment, having the ability to hold their breaths in for more than 3 minutes. Dating back to the prehistoric times, they have made their name as ecofeminists of the island.
바다에 가 물건 따는 것이 힘들어도 기쁘지 기뻐. 18살에 붙은 해연. 그러니까 이제 58년.
They contributed greatly to the economy of local families and communities and protected marine ecosystem knowledge. However, many people do not realize their significance in history. Haenyeo took a stand against Japanese colonization and economic exploitation through physical protests and the usage of education, marking historical waves as the first female movement in Korea and leaving long-lasting cultural legacies. The Jeju Haenyeo's strong female identity peaked when Japanese colonization began in 1910. Deprived of its national sovereignty, Korea went through not only rapid urbanization but also endured massive suffering. Jeju Island was strategically important for Japan to use it as a bridgeway to China. With this primary motivation, Japanese armies forced Jeju Islanders to build underground fortresses and tunnels in the hills. As seen in these historical sites, Japanese colonization deeply influenced the lives of Jeju people, especially the local economy, and soon instigated several anti-colonization movements, among them the most unique and prominent one being the independence movement led by Haenyeo. In 1930, Japan began actively utilizing Haenyeo on Jeju. Japanese merchants tried monopolizing the seafood markets by bribing the Jeju fishing industry.
고사리, 매역, 감태, 어이구 다 저 일본 놈들 다 뭐 보리, 조, 콩 다 가져가 버려 일본 놈들. 그러나 우리 먹을 것이니까 풀트에다 먹지.
Once, a Japanese merchant purchased seafoods harvested by Haenyeo with a very cheap price and refused to buy it all when Haenyeo asked for a fair price. With this problem, Haenyeo asked for a solution to the Haenyeo Union that was established in 1920. However, the union was not functioning to the benefit of Haenyeo because the head of the union had been installed by the Japanese colonial forces.
해녀 조합이 원래 해녀 권익을 보장해 주는 그런 기구인데 오히려 해녀 조합장이 일본인 상인들과 일본인 해주업자들 이런 사람들 편에 서서 해녀들의 권익을 보장해 주는 게 아니고 오히려 해녀들의 이익을 수탈해버리는.
As this problem remained unsolved, the harvested seafoods began to decay. To Haenyeo, this meant that their way of survival and living was being exploited. Thus, the anger and complaints of Haenyeo were ignited. On January 7, 1932, Haenyeo marched to Sehwaro Marketplace. With hoes and harvest tools in their hands, Haenyeo protested about Japan's unfair economical treatment. Now called the Hadori protest, their spirits were further sparked when 22-year-old Haenyeo named Chunhwa-bu made a speech against Japanese exploitation. The protest only halted when the Haenyeo's proposal to ban limited sale of selling seafood was granted. However, the promise was soon broken. 5 days after the Hadori protest, more than 1,000 infuriated Haenyeo gathered again at the same Sehwaro marketplace. Taguchi Daiki, a newly elected Japanese governor and the new head of Haenyeo Union, was surrounded. Haenyeo did not withdraw even at the threats of Japanese officers to shoot them. Thus, Daiki was forced to accept the Haenyeo's aid proposals. The three main clauses were 1. Prohibiting Japanese to set prices and customers of the seafood market. 2. Exempting Haenyeos that were under 20 or over 40 from paying the Haenyeo Union dues. 3. Revealing the financial records of Haenyeo Union to prevent corruption. Haenyeo demanded the clauses to be accomplished in 5 days, and Daiki agreed. Haenyeo then left. However, Daiki wasn't willing to comply. He sent out investigators to find supporters of the Haenyeo protests, who were mainly the teachers in Hadori School and Yeongmyeong-eusuk School. When Japanese investigators arrested the teachers, physical violence were brought out in the community. On January 23rd, 1,500 Haenyeo gathered to rescue the teachers. When the police began shooting the Haenyeo, however,
they were forced to flee with a few Haenyeo lost and many arrested. After this incident, many teachers and Haenyeo fled to a nearby island, but continued with their independence movement. In night schools, Haenyeo and illiterate local population were taught of nationalism and how to read. This seemingly successful protests instigated further Haenyeo resistance in surrounding areas such as Udo and Siungri.
준화, 김홍련, 부덕량 이런 분들이 그 야학 강습소를 만들었어요. 주경야도. 그래서 밤에 공부를 해서 이 근대 의식을 깨우치게 된 거예요.
Between 1930 to 1932, there were a total of 238 long-term protests recorded, and 17,130 total Haenyeo participated. Some people call this movement a failure. True, the Haenyeo did not get all of their proposals accepted, and did not succeed in freeing Jeju from Japanese occupation. However, the effects and significance of this movement are both inspiring and meaningful to note in history. First, it is significant because of who protested. Rarely in history of the world has a group of female directly opposed an authority, nevertheless another country. Furthermore, Haenyeo conducted not only physical protests, but also utilized education and literacy, two things that rarely come together with women in history. This is a great example for the capacity of females and how they can take stand in history.
Second, the relative scale in history is not to be ignored. The Hadori protest was the largest fishermen movement in Korea, but also the very first female movement in Korea's anti-colonization. Finally, the legacies derived from Haenyeo protests still live. For example, Haenyeo music composed by Kang Wan-sun Haenyeo during her time in prison is still sung by Haenyeo today.
제주도에 가히 없는 해녀들 비창한 살념살이 등에다 지고.
In Udo Harbor and Jeju Gujaup, there are Haenyeo anti-colonist movement monuments. People still gather to commemorate the loss and significance of Haenyeo in history. Haenyeo's most notable reputation, however, comes from the UNESCO selection of Haenyeo as Intangible Cultural Heritage. UNESCO itself states their standard for selection as groups in response to their environment, their interaction with nature and their history, with a sense of identity and continuity. By taking a stand in history, Haenyeo were able to develop Jeju and Haenyeo identity as a whole and have successfully passed it down the generations.
When a movement is observed of its significance, its limits should also be acknowledged. The limits of Haenyeo anti-colonization movement was their lack of organizational strategies. The movement overall did not succeed in bringing out tangible improvements of the relationship with Japanese. Another limit would be its lacking inclusion in the study of Korean history. Often, other anti-colonization movements in Korea are highlighted of their significances. However, because Haenyeo's initial goal was to solve their problems of survival and not independence, many people remain unaware of the protest.
We can find a very similar but different female movement in world history, the National American Women's Suffrage Association's campaigns. Though they hold different objectives, taking a stand to fight for women's voting and reproductive rights also brought more female representation in society. Similarly, the Haenyeo movement also brought greater agency and respect for women on the local and national level.
그럼으로써 바다와 인간이 같이 공존하고 있는 것을 이미 오래전부터 이 생태를 자연과 함께 같이 공존해 온 여인들이라는 거죠. 그게 가장 의미 있는 거예요, 제가 보기에는.
Haenyeo took a stand against Japanese colonization and economic exploitation through physical protests and the usage of education, making historical waves as the first female movement in Korea and leaving long-lasting cultural legacies. Despite the limitations forced upon the Haenyeo, their movement achieved cultural and political significance that still echoes today. Sadly, people's interest in Haenyeo and the governmental supports toward these female divers are declining yearly. It will be the responsibility of this generation to continue the legacy of Haenyeo and to continue teaching new generations how the mermaids of Jeju Island took a stand against oppression, becoming role models for today's Koreans and for freedom-loving people all around the world.